I just returned from a road trip through Germany, Belgium, and France, then a ferry across the English Channel to Britain, and a second ferry from there back to Ireland. And I noticed that it's common to see wind turbines in urban areas on the continent, at least at the places that we visited. For instance, from the center of Antwerp, you can see large wind turbines across the river at the port. Here are some turbines across the street from a gas station where we stopped on our way to Dunkirk. Throughout the trip, it was common to see turbines near high population areas or along major roads. This is not something I've seen in Ireland or the United States. I don't recall ever seeing a turbine from an urban area in either country. For instance, I live in Sligo town in the windy west coast of Ireland, a country that has a target to get 80% of our electricity from renewables, primarily wind, by 2030. Yet I had to drive 20 kilometers to the nearest wind farm to film this. Dublin County has no utility-scale wind turbines, while Hamburg has many along the Elbe River. Looking at the wind speeds, the two cities have similar potential for wind power, and Hamburg has a larger population. So why the difference? Unlike most of my videos, where at the end you'll at least know what I think the answer is, here I don't know. But I think the question is interesting and important enough to justify this video, and I hope you agree. But I really hope someone with more knowledge on this topic than I have shares their insights in the comment section. And this question is very important. In 2003, as an energy activist, I intervened in support of a wind farm development in Washington state that was challenged by NIMBYs, or not in my backyard. At this point, the developers had been at work for years, signing agreements with landowners and putting together their submission to the state for a permit. 7 years later, the wind farm was completed at about 55% of the original size. That's years and millions of dollars spent on lawyers rather than construction workers. That's tons of pollution going into the air while we argue about how close to a single ex-urban house a wind turbine can get. So back to the question at hand. Why are setbacks, the distance between a wind turbine and a house or other object of interest, so much smaller in Germany and Belgium than in the US and Ireland? I have two theories. The first has to do with population densities. Germany and Belgium have high densities, 242 and 385 people per square kilometer respectively, while the US and Ireland have only 37 and 76 people per square kilometer. In the US and Ireland, you have the option of placing the turbines far away from where people live, where land is cheaper and there are fewer people to complain about it. On the downside, you need to beef up the transmission network to get that power to where it's needed. We're seeing that in Ireland, where the main constraint on building more wind is the grid. If you build your turbines near the city where the power is needed, you put much less strain on the grid. My other theory is legal, that the permitting process in the US and Ireland favors the NIMBYs, while the process in Germany and Belgium is more balanced. When I was supporting the wind farm in Washington state, the opponents objected to turbines that would be several kilometers from their homes because they didn't want their views spoiled. They also said they were worried that the turbines would start fires, which were much more likely to be caused by their cars and trucks. Their baseless complaints led to a delay of years and the reduction of the power produced. The EU has a target of 2 years to get a permit for a wind farm, which you can see here, it's not even close to being met. Germany is doing well, Ireland not so much, and Belgium is one of the worst. So looking at the permitting time doesn't tell the story of why some places have urban wind turbines. Germany has scrapped the national setback rule, and many states are eliminating their minimum setback requirements. Germany has revamped its permitting laws to fast-track wind development, partially in response to the Ukraine invasion and the subsequent cutoff of methane from Russia. At the same time, the Trump administration has declared war on wind. Trump's insane disdain for wind power is nothing new.
I never understood wind. I know windmills very much. I've studied it better than anybody. I know it's very expensive. Gases are spewing into the atmosphere. Whether it's in China, Germany, it's going into the air. It's our air, their air, everything, right? They're noisy. They kill the birds. You want to see a bird graveyard? You just go. Take a look. A bird graveyard? Go under a windmill someday.
His administration acts like wind power is more dangerous than Russian aggression or imports from Canada. The Secretary of Transportation is proposing, quote, keeping future wind turbines at least 1.2 miles away from both railroads and highways for safety reasons? This is a solution looking for a problem, and I think the problem he's solving is competition to methane used to generate electricity. Even if we ignore the current administration's opposition to renewable energy, things weren't great before. Given the U.S.'s fragmented system, each county sets its own setback requirements, and they vary enormously. The U.S. National Renewable Energy Lab did a study of county and state ordinances across the country and found that a third of these require a setback of more than 300 meters from any object. In Ireland, the setback distance is 500 meters from a residence, a lot further than those turbines were from the gas station in Belgium. And in very Irish fashion, there's been a lot of talk about updating the guidelines, but little action. And any update is unlikely to allow the kind of development we saw in Germany or Belgium. Looking at this chart, we see that the growth in wind power has been fastest in high-density Germany and low-density Ireland. So it doesn't look like building wind farms near where people live has impacted the growth of wind power. I couldn't find any evidence that having wind turbines near where people live and work has created opposition to them. It might be that some of the lines told about wind power, like they're noisy, are harder to sell when people fill up their cars right next to wind turbines producing lots of power and no noise. Just listen to these turbines. I'm not sure if you can hear that over my little mic here, but they are making some noise that I can hear when I listen carefully. It's hard to sell the story that wind turbines kill lots of birds when you can walk among the towers and see the ground is covered with grass and not the corpses of our avian friends. I was unable to find anything conclusive on why the setback distances are so different. But if Ireland followed Germany's lead in making it easier to build wind turbines near where people live and work, we could decarbonize more quickly and cheaply than we currently are. My thinking is we need to accept wind turbines as a fundamental element of modern life, like roads and power lines. I personally find them attractive, but I understand if you don't. But if you want electricity, and we all do, then we need to accept that if you live in a windy place, you have the benefit of access to clean, affordable electricity, and you get to see where your power comes from, whether you like it or not. If you have any thoughts on why wind turbine setbacks vary so much, please share them in the comments. If you'd like to support my channel, you can buy me a stout or watch more of my videos on the electricity grid here. And please forward this video to anyone who's never seen a wind turbine up close and in person.